Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a subject that, well, everyone faces, but we're approaching it from a really counterintuitive angle. For decades, we've been told that human aging is this gradual thing, a steady, slow slide where you lose a little bit of function every year.
And that whole narrative,
Yeah.
while it's kind of comforting in its simplicity, has been completely overturned by recent research.
Right.
The sources we pulled for this deep dive, especially the studies coming out of journals like The Lancet Healthy Longevity, they show that rule just stops applying, and emphatically after age 80.
That is the core finding here. Aging post 80 is not gradual at all. It's more like a series of complete system reconfigurations.
Exactly.
We're looking at 5 specific biological thresholds that are crossed almost universally once you hit that 80-year mark.
And these are major physiological shifts. They happen regardless of how well you ate or, how much you exercise your whole life. So our mission today is really to unpack these 5 transformations. We need to distinguish between the changes that are, believe it or not, adaptive, the body trying to survive,
Yeah.
and those that can really accelerate decline if you just ignore them. For you, the listener, understanding the mechanism, the hidden risks, that's critical.
And the sources kept stressing that some of these transformations are so subtle. They're the kind of thing that gets dismissed as, oh, that's just getting old, when actually they're a massive red flag.
A huge flag. If you don't track them, you miss the window.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with something you experience, 3 times a day?
That brings us to sign number 5, the collapse of the sensory defense system. We're talking taste and smell.
The physical data on this is just striking. By the time someone hits 80, the average person has lost about 70% of their taste buds.
70%. It's huge.
That is a massive number. What's the biological failure here? What's actually breaking down?
It's all about cellular regeneration. See, in a younger adult, taste buds are incredibly dynamic. They regenerate themselves every 10 days or so.
Right.
But after 80, that whole process it slows down dramatically. The decline really accelerates after 70, meaning the body just stops making replacements at the rate it needs to. You're losing the sensors faster than you can regrow them.
So it's not just that food gets bland. The sources frame this as a loss of safety sensors. What's the practical danger?
This is where the risk is so hidden. Taste and smell are your frontline defense, right? They detect spoiled food, bitter toxins, and crucially, they monitor salt and sugar levels.
Uh-huh.
When food starts tasting flat, the brain goes, I want that satisfaction back.
And how do people compensate, usually without even thinking about it?
They add more salt,
Yeah.
more sugar, more processed flavor enhancers. And that behavioral response is the real danger. A Harvard Health Review finding from 2021 found that older adults who'd lost over half their taste sensitivity were 40% more likely to develop hypertension or diabetes within 5 years.
40%, wow. And it's not aging itself, it's the compensation.
It's the overconsumption of salt and sugar to get that flavor kickback.
Yeah.
It's a direct link. The physiology drives the behavior, which then causes the disease.
And there's a multiplier effect too, right? The sources mentioned decreased saliva production makes things even worse, making meals taste flat and cardboard-like.
Exactly. And then you have to factor in smell, what researchers call presbyosmia. Smell is like 80% of what we think of as flavor.
80%?
And nearly half of adults over 80 have partial or even total smell loss. So when both go at the same time, appetite plummets, you risk malnutrition, and then there are the immediate safety risks, like not smelling a gas leak or smoke or food that's gone bad.
So if you notice flavors fading, it is not a minor thing. It's an urgent signal. It means you need a medical evaluation, a nutritional assessment. You can't just shrug it off.
Absolutely not. Okay, so from the systems that detect danger in the world, let's move to the system that repairs us. Sign number 4.
Your skin forgets how to heal. And we're not just talking about it being a little slow. We're talking about a minor scratch turning into this lingering problem for weeks, maybe months. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the literature calls it confused healing. A landmark study in Nature Aging showed that after 80, skin cells literally lose their molecular memory.
Molecular memory, what does that even mean?
Think of it like this. Your specialized repair cells, the fibroblasts, are like a construction crew. In a young person, they have a perfect genetic blueprint.
Right, the
The
instruction.
instructions. After 80, those instructions start to fade. It's what scientists call epigenetic drift.
So the crew knows something is broken, but they've kind of forgotten how to fix it.
Precisely. They sort of wander around, they don't coordinate, they show up late, and crucially, they don't produce enough of the main building material, collagen.
I remember the stat, collagen production drops
What was it?
a staggering 75% between ages 25 and 80.
75%. So wounds just take way longer to close, much longer. And you combine that with skin thinning by about 20%, you get deeper wounds and much faster infections.
And what about easy bruising? That senile purpura, we just dismiss that as a cosmetic thing.
And it's not. It's fragile capillaries rupturing because the skin is so thin.
Hmm.
The real danger that people dismiss is that slow healing gives bacteria this huge window of opportunity to set up a serious infection.
So that delay is the real risk. How much longer does an infection actually last?
The studies are really clear on this. Infections in the skin of someone over 80 last, on average, 3 times longer than in a middle-aged adult. That confusion in the healing process is the breakdown we have to address.
So the intervention is all about helping those confused fibroblasts.
Exactly. You know, beyond testing for the obvious things like circulation problems or diabetes, which make it all worse, targeted interventions can make a real difference. Things like low-level laser therapy, even just collagen peptides, can improve healing speed by up to 50%. And even basics like proper hydration and getting enough vitamin C can help reactivate that fibroblast activity. A slow healing wound is a critical message.
Okay, let's move to something that disrupts the whole rhythm of daily life. This affects nearly 60% of people over 80. Sign number 3, the sleep clock flips.
This is the circadian crisis. You wake up like clockwork at 3 a.m. for no reason, or you just have to nap right after breakfast. That's your internal timekeeper malfunctioning.
We're talking about the brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN. It's kept perfect time for decades. Why does it suddenly get so out of sync?
What's a perfect storm, really? First, the clock gets weaker signals. As you age, the lens of your eye yellows and your pupil shrinks, so less bright light gets to the brain. And that light is what sets the clock.
Oh, okay.
And second, the cluster of 20,000 neurons that are the clock, they also weaken and die off.
So if the clock is running on a weak signal, what's the actual result?
It causes something called advanced sleep phase syndrome. So instead of a normal 10 to 6 schedule, your body starts winding down way too early, maybe 7 p.m. It hits deep sleep around midnight, and then boom, you're wide awake at 3 a.m.
And the problem is you're drowsy and just not functional during the day when you need to be.
Exactly.
So what's the big deal beyond feeling tired? Why is this considered a critical health risk?
Because your circadian rhythm controls everything. Body temperature, hormones, digestion, everything. But the biggest risks are cognitive and cardiovascular. The Journal of Gerontology showed that seniors with these disrupted sleep rhythms had 3 times the risk of cardiovascular events and cognitive decline.
3 times the risk just because the clock is off. That's staggering.
And it links directly to the brain's cleaning system. There's this waste removal service in the brain called the glymphatic system.
Right.
Its job is to clear out toxins like beta amyloid, which is a plaque linked to Alzheimer's. And this cleaning only really happens during deep, uninterrupted sleep. When you're waking up at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., that system can't finish its job.
So the trash just accumulates.
It accumulates. The data shows that this chronic sleep disruption in the over 80 group doubles the rate of cognitive impairment in just 3 years.
Wow. And families just write it off as normal.
They do. Which is why the first step for you, the listener, is to track it. A detailed sleep diary for 2 weeks is the most valuable data you can have. Then you can do targeted interventions like bright light therapy in the morning to strengthen that signal and avoiding bright light at night.
Okay, let's move from the invisible clock to a very visible transformation. Sign number 2. Muscles begin consuming themselves. Sarcopenia.
And this is the process that really separates independence from dependency. A huge 2023 study found that over 45% of people over 80 have moderate to severe sarcopenia. You're losing about 1% of muscle mass and 2 to 3% of strength every single year.
And the mechanism here is just, it's brutal.
It really is. It's the body in survival mode. The balance between building and breaking down muscle protein just collapses. Your key hormones, testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, they all plummet. So the body starts cannibalizing its own muscle tissue for amino acids
To do what with them?
to keep the vital organs going, primarily the brain and the heart.
So the body is literally sacrificing muscle to save the brain. This goes way beyond just not being able to lift
Oh,
things.
absolutely. The most immediate risk is mobility. Seniors with sarcopenia are 5 times more likely to have debilitating falls and fractures.
5 times.
And losing more than 10% of your leg muscle mass, which can happen alarmingly fast, actually doubles your mortality risk within 3 years.
And there's systemic effects too, right? That
Yeah.
we don't connect to muscle.
That's right. Muscle isn't just for moving, it's your body's biggest reservoir of amino acids. These are the building blocks for your immune cells, for neurotransmitters. So when that reservoir shrinks, you see slower healing, you get sick more often, and you often get brain fog because the brain isn't getting the materials it needs.
And it affects balance too.
Yes. The shrunken muscles give weak feedback to the brain about where your body is in space. It's a kind of neurological confusion that leads directly to that unsteadiness and fall risk.
So how do you fight back? What's the intervention here?
Resistance exercise. Twice a week. It's non-negotiable. It's the only thing that's been shown to really rebuild muscle mass and function at this age.
And you have to feed the muscle.
You have to. Protein intake becomes absolutely critical. We're talking 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight daily. That's the minimum to give the body the building blocks it needs.
Okay, finally. The most extraordinary transformation. Sign number 1. The brain rewiring for survival.
This is a neurological act of self-preservation. By 80, the brain has lost about 20% of its white matter. That's the insulation around the connections, the brain's data highways.
So if the highways are closing down, how does information get through?
The brain literally builds detours through side streets. Nearby neurons take over functions they weren't designed for, creating these improvised backup routes.
So that's what's happening when a thought just loses its thread. Or you forget why you walked into a room.
It could be. It's not necessarily dementia. It might just be detoured processing.
Yeah.
Your thought took the scenic route.
What's incredible is that this rewiring isn't random, it's strategic.
It's totally strategic. The brain prioritizes what it thinks is most important for survival. So emotional memory and social connection, the limbic system, those areas stay really robust. But analytical processing, complex calculation, those weaken.
So it's an evolutionary choice, social bonds over calculus.
That's what the sources suggest. The brain allocates its dwindling resources to what keeps you connected to the tribe, essentially.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. But these detours must have some side effects.
They do. The misrouted signals cause slower reaction times, that unsteadiness we talked about, and these sudden temporary moments of mild cognitive fluctuation.
Like a mental fog that just comes and goes.
Exactly. It's overloaded circuits, not progressive cell death.
Yeah.
And that distinction is so important for the listener. Adaptive rewiring causes variable performance. Some days are good, some are foggy. Dementia is a progressive, worsening decline.
So you have to support the brain's fight to adapt.
You do. Continuous mental stimulation puzzles, new skills, rich conversation. That's what directs this rewiring towards a functional, beneficial outcome.
Okay, so we've covered 5 universal transformations after age 80. The message is clear. These changes will happen, but how severe they are is entirely modifiable.
Which brings us to the urgent steps from the research. If you or a loved one recognizes these signs, you have to be proactive. First, document everything.
Don't rely on memory.
No. Write down dates, severity, sleep patterns, specific examples of confusion. That documentation is gold for a physician.
Second step.
Schedule a comprehensive evaluation immediately. Don't delay. And be persistent. Don't let a doctor dismiss these symptoms as just normal aging.
And third.
Request specific assessments. Don't wait for them to be offered. Ask for cognitive testing, a nutritional evaluation, a muscle mass measurement, and a sleep pattern analysis. Early, specific intervention is everything.
And while you're waiting for that evaluation, you can focus on those things we just discussed. Increase protein, get bright morning sunlight, and stay mentally and physically active.
Exactly. The body is still fighting. You just have to support that fight. These transformations are biological necessities, but their impact on your quality of life is manageable with awareness and action.
The core takeaway is that knowing about these 5 system resets is the key to maintaining function and vitality. Thank you for walking us through all of this.
My pleasure. If we go back to that last transformation, the brain prioritizing emotional memory and social connection, it just raises a fascinating question. What if focusing on strengthening social bonds, on emotional well-being?
Yeah.
What if that isn't just a comfort, but one of the most powerful, functional, adaptive interventions you can possibly make post-80? Something for you to mull or explore on your own.